Welcome to Seasons of Life, a biblical perspective for how to navigate life's ups and downs. Do you feel overwhelmed? Or do you feel successful? Experiencing loss? This weekly 15-minute word of inspiration will motivate you to live with more wisdom and peace. Here is your host, Pastor Mercy Oduah.
Hello, once again, I welcome you to Seasons of Life, a biblical viewpoint for managing your life challenges. My 15 minutes video talk aspires to educate and empower you with spiritual guide and support as you go through the ups and downs of life. Seasons of life are unavoidable. The good seasons and the bad seasons, they are unavoidable. And what you need is a spiritual support and guide as you navigate those challenging times. I am sharing my experiences from pain and loss, hoping that they will benefit you as you go through your own seasons of life. If today is your first time of watching me, you can go back to my previous episode. And also, at the end, kindly share this video with people around you, especially those that are going through hard times, so that we can become a community of support. Today is episode 20, and I am rounding up on forgiveness and letting go. I devoted 4 episodes to this important topic, and today I am rounding up. I spent 4 episodes talking about forgiving and letting go because it is very important. Most of the violence we see out there today, the killing, the crimes, result from unresolved anger, unresolved bitterness, and unforgiveness. So it is very important that we address this topic very carefully and detailed. In my past episodes on this topic, I defined what forgiveness is, and I listed steps to follow as you try to forgive that family member, that co-worker. I talked about the misconceptions surrounding this word, forgiveness. I talked about too the hindrances we experience, and that hindrances prevents us from forgiving. So today I am going to round up by looking at the benefits of forgiveness, because I tell you, forgiveness has a lot of benefits, but I will just narrow it to 7 benefits. But I want you to listen to the words of Jonathan Hill. He says that forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. You forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but primarily because you deserve peace. So you can see that forgiveness benefits both parties, you and the person that offends you. Forgiveness operates in 2 ways, giving and receiving, and both ways are beneficial. So you are either giving forgiveness or you are receiving forgiveness. So let us now look at the benefits of forgiveness. As I say, I just narrow it down to 7 benefits. You can have a lot of them, but we are going to look at 7 today. So let's go. The first benefit of forgiveness is that it brings freedom to you and the person that offends you. Forgiveness and letting go bring freedom to you and the person you have bitterness against, whether your family member, your co-worker, your friends, or your neighbor. You may think that unforgiveness does not affect you and that you are just fine. You don't need that person. After all, the person does not contribute anything to your life. Yeah, you are right. But as long as you hold resentment in your heart against this person, you are in an emotional prison. An emotional prison is an invisible prison, but you are in that prison. In the words of Louis Semmes, he says that to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that you are that prisoner. So as you forgive, as you offer forgiveness, you are setting yourself free from whatever grudges that you are holding. And then you are setting the other person free too from that negative feelings as well. So it is beneficial that both of you now can walk in freedom. The second benefit of forgiveness is that it brings physical and emotional healing to us. Physical and emotional healing. I tell you, good mental health is one of the healing effects of forgiveness. As you choose to forgive, you experience a good mental health. You are now more in the positive than in the negative, and your thoughts are less anxious now. You don't spend hours planning malicious plan against the person that offend you. You don't spend all your thought thinking about how to revenge that person. Your thoughts are not toxic concerning that person anymore. And when that is the case, now you are in a good state of health. It affects your blood pressure. Your blood pressure is calm, and the stress hormone is reduced. Therefore, you have less pain, less stomach pain, less headaches, just because you choose to forgive. So you can see that the overall state of well-being, it keeps your heart regular and your pressure working very well, and there is no stress. It is very important to know that just this word forgiveness gives you the physical and the emotional benefits. The third point is that forgiving and letting go improve your spiritual well-being as well, because you are now in a state of calm, and that is where God wants you to be. When you forgive yourself and forgive others, you regain your peace. But if you choose not to forgive, you lose your inner peace. Regardless of how you cover it, when you sit down, there is always that nagging feeling because you remember the person that hurt you. But when you choose to forgive, you benefit is that you regain your inner peace. Your soul, your spirit, and your body harmonize, promoting a deeper connection with God. Your soul, your spirit, and your body harmonize. They are together. And this promotes a deeper connection with God. You are also sensitive to the voice of God, and nothing is blocking your heart right now. Your heart is conducive now for God to speak to you. Above all, you are free from guilt and condemnation of the enemy, who will always remind you of that person that hurts you. You are free now because you choose now to forgive, which is the act of the Spirit of God in you. You are now walking in the Spirit, which is a spiritual maturity, according to Romans chapter 8, verse 1, there is no more condemnation and guilt as you choose to walk in the Spirit. Number 4, forgiveness keeps you in the present. You are not living from the past. You live in the past when you allow past hurts, anger, and resentment to determine your future. Most times, we make decisions and judgment from our past hurt and wound, especially in the areas of health. Because your uncle offended you long time ago when you were growing up, now that you are in a better position, that might affect you. You might choose not to help him or help his children, especially if they need financial help. You remember what happened in the past and you said no. In this case, you are living from the past. But when you forgive, it keeps you in the present. It keeps you moving forward. You are not living in the past. The book of Isaiah chapter 43 verse 18 supported this when it says, forget the former things. Do not dwell in the past. I tell you, a lot of people live their life from the past. They make decisions from the past. They make judgment from the past. Do not allow your past to determine your future. That is not the will of God for you. Forget the former things, look forward. The fourth example is that forgiveness improves relationship and friendship. The fifth example, beg your pardon, forgiveness improves relationship and friendship because we need one another without friction. We need a wall that there is no friction. The more we forgive, the better our relationship with everyone. And there will be fewer hostilities in families, community, and in the world. The more we forgive, we are in a better relationship with everyone. And there will be fewer hostilities in our families, in our communities, and in the world. And this is supported in the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 32, that encourages us to be kind to one another, forgiving one another as God forgave us. Forgiveness is an act of kindness, and kindness towards each other improves relationships, making this world a better place. There will be less violence and criminal activity as we learn to forgive one another. The sixth point is that forgiveness keeps us humble, recognizing that God is sovereign over everything. Humility is more of a spiritual disposition. Humility is a spiritual attitude, and God wants His children to be humble, to have a meek temperament. The more humble we are, the more we have access to God's grace. According to the book of James, chapter 4, verse 6, it says that God gives grace to the humble. You can measure your level of humility. You can measure your level of humility by your willingness to forgive and let go. So in case you're saying, I'm humble, I'm always humble. Okay, how quickly or how fast are you able to forgive somebody? That is one of the ways to measure your humility. You see, most political, social, and religious conflicts that we have today spring from lack of humility because people are so arrogant and they refuse to admit their shortcomings. Finally, forgiveness can transform our life by molding, shaping, and conforming us to the image of God. We are created in the image of God. According to Genesis story, God created us in his image, and God is forgiving. Therefore, his children must be forgiven too. So the more we forgive, the more we are conformed to the image of God, the more we are Christ-like in our attitude. We cannot claim to have God and to be children of God and still live in unforgiveness. No, God wants us to live in forgiveness. So as we forgive, we are now Christ-like. We are conformed to the image of our Father. You can remember the story of Saul in the Bible, who was a murderer and killing Christian. But when God forgave him, it transforms him. He became the follower of Christ and ended up being a mighty apostle. So forgiveness brings us to the image of God. And finally, as I close this critical message, I want you now to begin to practice forgiveness. I empower you with the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 13, that tells you that you can do all things through Christ that gives you strength. Therefore, receive the strength, the power to forgive your family member, to forgive that co-worker, that friend, or that neighbor. So as I close, I say, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you. And may the Lord lead you in the path of forgiveness. Shalom to you, and see you next week.
Thank you for watching this episode of Seasons of Life. Until next time, be well, and may God bless you.